Stories are great, but of course, if someone is presenting a story, they're often doing it for a reason. If you're a policymaker and you're trying to raise money for your organization, what's the story you're going to want to tell? You're going to want to go find someone who was really, really poor, got your program, and is now doing much better. That's a great story. But now imagine instead you believe that aid doesn't work. You go and you find a story, someone who was over here, got a bunch of handouts, and is still over here. And you say it's all corrupt. You can always find a story to fit the message you want to send. And that's dangerous. If that's how policy gets said, if that's how donations get made, it's dangerous. Now we're just at the mercy of the best storyteller.
Around the world, 1 in 10 people gets by on less than $2 a day. In Ethiopia, it's more than 1 in 4.
What does someone who's ultra poor do on a day-to-day basis? What are the challenges they face on a day-to-day basis? Really understanding that is very important. And we can't attempt to or hope to help them unless we really understand what's going on.
أين رخيلة؟ تلك والله منهم يبلغ بسرعة. مرة بدي نصت يلاي ليه بقى؟ بوا
لا فتسولو حلا خطأ صحهم تادخنت نيا دخنتي تم أي خافت على الخياس الخسر حقات من بيتاي موني أخلي بالخونة يكون مصيو أنا خسر حي بس لني وصل أقلبلن خافت على الخواس يشتغل على الخويل صار حي زدني.
Is poverty just about money? Or is it more complicated than that, in that people face a series of constraints, a series of challenges, and addressing only one of them is not going to help if you don't address the others?
السلام ده كما يلكن نحن نهان نيتنا بنا نيكم ديم بنا يقول لكم شات شات ليلي ماشي هذا الصعب زاور حي التحلباس كندي لي تريون بمعلت كندي حله دي تحله انت بمعلتي
حنت المعلتي مو معلتي حنت ليترو
حنت ليترو خلتين كلتا ليترو
حنت إياه
حنت دي حنت تحلبي
So we need good data even to understand what the challenges are, let alone to figure out the impacts of different kinds of policies.
عاي شجريده بقاسات حمام اي نقول صراحه يوسخل مناوري لخالي خدان خونا مناوريش كاو يلو قبلنا.
Once you understand the extreme difficulty that some people are facing, I think most people's reaction is, if we can do something to help those people, we ought to. It's kind of a moral obligation to.
جزان نانيو كما عديركم
عندي
انا شيء انا نيكم كما عديركم
نس اني مستزنا مثلا لما عملت اللي تحت زنا زلو مخانو ياو بي كل بزو انت لناوني او مالتي بصراحه حق زنا قروا حليفنا ايو
زي اني حش نيرو مالتي لو مي زنقي اسل الجمره تزنا
اوه
نعم خاشي مالتي
اوه زنقي يدحيو ايو ما يهونانيو زخونه خوين ግን እግዚአብሔር ይመስገን እግዚአብሔር ኃይል እዩ.
When I got started doing this kind of work, there was like lots of grand rhetoric about lifting people up out of poverty and, massive transformations. And there's a lot of different programs that have been tried. There's cash transfer programs, there's training programs, there's financial inclusion programs. And so it got me started just thinking, like, I wonder what the impact is. Take microcredit as an example.
which offer small loans for just such situations. This is known as microcredit. This system means that
When I dug in and looked at what's the actual loan product look like, I was surprised that the interest rate was higher than I expected. The term in which you have to pay back was faster than I expected. And I, looked at what their impact evaluation was, and they had one. But it would just ask people, are you doing better now than you were 2 years ago? You cannot just follow them over time and say, well, they were over here doing this well, then this program came along, did a bunch of stuff, now they're up here, and that's great, and we'll attribute that difference to the program. That's a great story, but maybe some roads were built near them. There was a good rainfall. A million other things have happened. They're also older than they were 2 years ago. We don't say microcredit causes aging. So you have to have something to be able to say, what would have happened to them had this program not happened? And unfortunately, very, very rarely do you see evidence that one of those programs has long-term, transformative, sustainable impacts.
A lot of people argue for things on emotion or intuition or we've always done it this way. And that's not really a very good basis for making a decision.
They were never able to look back at data and say, oh, well, now we've learned this is better than that, and let's do it this way rather than that way. So that was the first kind of aha that, there's a real gap here, and now we're going to work to help policymakers get this evidence.
ፅቡቕ ኣብ ዝሓለፈ 7 መዓልትታት ማይ ካብ ምንታይ ሰትዩ ነርኩም?
እንዮ ብተራእና ንሰትዮ ማይ የብላይታ ማይ ቡምባ ለውፀና ብኢድ መንግስቲ ማይ ትሪባን ብማይ ናይ ደምፅ ኢልና ነይሩ
ብሓባሪኹም ክንደይ ረሓቕ ካብዚ ናፍታ ክንደይ ደቂቃ ወስደኩም?
ፍቕሩያ
ክንደይ ፍርቂ ሰዓት ይውድእ
ክንከዲ ክንመፅእ ፍርቂ ሰዓት ትወደና እያ
ሓደ ፍርቂ ሰዓት ይውድእ ማለት እዩ
ርሕቕ ልበለት እያው
ርሕቕ እዩ ካብዚ ኣጥዩ ማለት እዩ እሺ ትኸፍሉ ዲኹም ነዚ ማይ ትጥቀሙሉ ክፍሊት እኒኦ ዶ የብልን?
ክፍሊት ባኛው 10 ቅርሺ
ንምንታይ እታ ክፍሊትስ ንምንታይ ተባሂላ ትኽፈል? ማይ ስለልሰጠኹም
ተባለና
ልዋርዲ
ተባለ ሽያ መጨገኒ
I think what makes something a scientifically rigorous study is that you have a hypothesis and you can test that hypothesis. If you're measuring the impact of a program, you really need to know the counterfactual, what would have happened otherwise.
So the randomized trial is a way of solving that. We need people who are really observably, on average, the same.
You need to have one group that gets the program and a control group that doesn't get the program. Whether people are in the control or get the program is randomized. If we know that everyone is the same in the treatment and the control group except for the program, any difference between the two is due to the program itself.
One of the ideas that's at the heart of this program was that the problem with being ultra poor is not any one thing. If it were as simple as one thing, we probably would have solved it a while ago. It might be 2 different things that are binding, or 3 or 4, and each one is binding, and solve 2 and you haven't solved the problem, but do them all, maybe then you can help lift somebody up in a sustainable way.
So the ultra poor program is testing that hypothesis. Can you do something marginally, or do you have to do a whole set of things at the same time if you're going to put people on a sustainable, positive, upward path for their life?
This was a multi-pronged intervention. Each household received 4 different kinds of help over 2 years. They got to choose a productive asset valued at about $350 US. Most chose goats, some chose oxen, others chose bees. They were encouraged to save money at a community bank with no withdrawals permitted until their balance equaled the value of the asset they'd been given. They received staple foods valued at $8 US per month to help get through the lean season and grow their businesses. Finally, they received training with weekly visits over 2 years on how to manage and market their asset and coaching on general life skills to build confidence.
The question is, were people more likely to do better with getting this program than without? And you don't get that answer from telling an individual story. That really is best done through data, and it's best done through analysis.
Collecting really good data in poor countries is both essential and really difficult. It's really important to have really good people from the local communities who understand the research and who can collect the data. They have to track people down. And they have to track the right person. They will literally often walk miles where there isn't a road. And then they find the person's not there, well, they'll just walk the miles back and come another day. Even harder is when you want to look at the long-term impacts. You then have to be able to find those same people again.
እሺ መሳል ሓደ መሳል ለለ ንበል እሞ 10 መረጋገጽ ለሎ መሳል ንበል ታና መጀመሪያ ለላ መርገጽት ብጣዕሚ ልብላዕ ልስተል የውሉ በታኽ ሰብ ማለት እዩ ታ 10 አይተለላ መንዳታ ደግሞ ሃፍታም ኩሉ ዝተማለ ለሎ ሰብ ማለት እዩ ስለዚ ካብ ሓደ እስከ 10 ተለለዋ ናትካ መናዋውሮ ወይ ድማ ኢኮኖሚካ አበይናይ ደረጃ አበይናይ ብርኪር ከትብል ኣብ ሓሙሽተ ፍርቂ በጣም ጽቡቅ
A lot of the questions we're trying to ask are actually very difficult to ask. Income is the most obvious. Most people in America, you ask them their income, they can tell you their income. Asking that in a developing country context is much harder.
እሺ ንኻልእ ሰብ ብውህብ ተመልከ ንቤተሰብ ድዩ ንጎረቤት ድዩ ተሂኩም
ይሄውናይ
ሰውሃቤን ለላሁኩም ነገር የለይ እሺ መሐከሚት ሐኪምኩምን ወጻእ ተገርኩም ቅርሺ
يقبرنا لني
ስለዚህ ክንደይ ቅርሺ ወጪውን ዶ ይልድለት መሕጸቢን ደለ ወጻ ቅርሺና ደሊና ተቀላለ
ተነጣለይ
هو
አይ መሕጸብ ሳነስ ብነጻ ኸይኮን
ብነጻ ይንሕጻ ቅርሺ ይኸፈለኒ ማለት እዩ
ወጣልስ ብነጻ ኸይኮን
ጽቦ ስለዚህ ሕብረተሰብ ታይ ተተገወረ ይኽልወጥ ለኸል ክቀየር ለኸል ስለዚህ ኾነት መረጃ ካብ ታሕቲ ስለዝርከብ ፍናተይ ደሞስ ተናዋና አስተዋጽኦ ዝባሃል ታይብ ተዘሎ ሓቂ ለኽናገሩ ዘለብ ዝመሬት ዝረአ ነገር ለኽናገርና ጸጋማት መፍትሕ ረኺቡ ያው በዘለቕነት ካብ ድኽነት ለኸወጽና ብምግቢ ይኹን በኻለ ነገር ዓርሶም ለኸኸሉ ከመይ ነኽራማት ምሸት ክትድቅስ ከለኻ መብዛሕትኡ ግዜ ታይታይ ንሓሰብ ቃ ክትድቅስ
ኣነ በቃ ለኻ ሃሪሽ ተልዒለ እየ ላብ ስራሕ ለዓፈሩም በይ ንሕሳብ ዳ ክሕሰብ ይኽእል እዩ
ደም ትዕግስቲ ጌርካ ተጸቢኻ ክናገሩ ከለዎ ለኸ ያቋረጽ ካስምዒታው ተኾይኖም ዳ ትዕግስቲ ጌርካ ንስኻ ላብ መሲልካ ትመራያ ጽሩይ ዝኾነ ከተምጽእ ዝግበካ ጽቡቕ ዝኾነ ስልጠና ወሲደየ ማለት እዩ
እዚኣ ተገይረሎም ማዓንቲ እዚኣ ክረክብ እየ ብዚኣ ገይረ ካብ ነገድኩ ገንዘብ ካብ መገንኹስ ክትልነግድ እውን ገለገለ እዚ ትህራስ ብሰዓቱ ትህርስ ብሰዓቱ ትህርስ ትሓስብ ትኽእል ኢኻ ያው ግን
If we're sending someone out to ask a question,
ድሕሪ ሓደ ወርሒ ይቕየር እዩ ወይ ልወጥ ኢልካ ትሓስብ ዶ
if it was a foreigner asking the question, it'd be disaster, right? You would not expect to get the right kind of answers.
10,000 ናይ ክልቲኦም
Someone who's really good, it makes all the difference to getting a really full answer.
حمشتين موضوع ما
Do you bitterly cry? Do you feel bad things this say? Like this question? It feels bad. Huh? ስለዚህ ድማ ዋና ጠቂምኒ አቀራርባ ጽቡቅ አቀራርባ ስገርና ስለዘቀረውና የም ጽቡቅ ገርም ተቀቢሎም ዝድልና ምሳኺ ሓቢሮም ጻወት ዘናጋዓኒ ዋር ሰባት ኒዋደ
أمسي
ኒዋ ማለት እዩ እሺ ምሳኺ ዕንጨይቲ ለኸዳ ማይ ለኸዳ አዳጋ ለኸዳ ኒዋደ ተታሒስክና ዕንጨይቲ
خم خدي
ከለ ሓቢር ከም ኻዲ ማለት እዩ እሺ
What we do when we collect data and what we do when we analyze data is really trying to understand these challenges. You come across a challenge and you think, maybe that is part of what's going on, and part of the challenge that people are facing. Maybe this is one of the constraints that we need a policy change to act on.
ስለለቀየርኩዎ ነመንጎ ከዓ ስለልሓመንኩ ዳርጋ ጥፍፍ ኣቢለየስ ሄደን እዮም ዘለዋ ሕዚ ናብ ጉልበት ስራሕ ስለለይወስኸሉ ከዓ ታላቅ ዛ ካትሪ ትበሃል ዛ ታላቅ ስለልላት ንማህፀነይ ብርሽን ስለልኾንኩ ብኡ ስለልመታድሓንኩ ዳርጋ ጥፍፍ ኣቢለየን የተናል
There's no program that works for everybody. Some people did really well, and other people didn't do quite as well. And yes, some of the people who didn't get the program, they did manage to do better anyhow.
لو منتهي هون له جذا نيروا جذا يتكل له بعرا نيروا بعرا يتكل له نوعلو سلذا مصت جبار بتعمي أنا كمسجل خم أجل خونا لا تهال لا حرن كاسلون هون أو تنا هذا النية هو صبغ ما خلاي يعني هو.
The question is, how many people were shifted up? How much did it go up by? And how would that do compared to alternative ways of helping them?
ولا قدمت حيلهم بالي جمهور سنيرم بنت لو تقن هم تقول لها سل لكاتها تلوم نور وسل الرأنا تلوطس لحاشة أيو أو تأسمه كل سلوطس نيوي ولا أنا يسد تعم تلوطس حرة سوية.
We're seeing a big positive treatment effect. It's the animals, to a large extent, it's the things that are generating income for them. So that went up by a lot. We see income go up. We see savings that go up. We then see consumption go up. They're eating some of the income that they got because of the increase in the assets. So, straight down kind of the economic path, we see everything go up, and that's at 2 years and 3 years after the assets were transferred, which is what leads us to this kind of sustainable argument.
So this is something people worry about with aid. They say, well, does it cause dependence? Well, this is the opposite. This is giving people a one-shot support, taking it away. Not only do they not do worse, they do better.
After 7 years, the treatment group is 25% higher net worth, basically, in terms of their asset values than the control group, which is a very big change.
And so there was a set of coordinated studies in different countries. And across all of those studies, the evidence is really quite strong that this approach is very successful. It's been successful in a range of different countries and over a long term. That makes it kind of one of the most successful things that's been examined rigorously. What does this tell us about poverty? It tells us that people who are really poor can have a radical change in their life, that a short burst of help can put them on a different path in life.
كدانا نخدن صدقنا قامت لك على الخطوة على تمرفنا مهرنا هذه للقصة اللي تريوا لهم زي أني أثنات مهار كذا وزيوت يا كتمان كذا خريا وقخراي وقخدان تسفانا لا تبوي هذه لخ أنا مهر نخلينا نبيل نتسفي تغني قبلنا نتسفينا.
People present what is going to kind of draw people in emotionally. They present stories. The power of film and seeing a particular life is that context. I see their house, I see them, I see how they talk, I see how they smile. They're telling me about their life, they're telling me about their hopes, their fears. We feel like we actually understand something more about them. But what we're hoping to do is introduce that is great, embrace it, use it, but now look to actual evidence to then decide how to help people the best.
Taking data and evidence really seriously means being willing to change your view about what the problem is and not be stuck on some preconceived view about what poverty is about, but respond to, in a sense, the voices of the poor and say, whatever I came in with, I need to respond to what they're saying and what they're doing. That's the real breakthrough. And I think that's really fundamental.